And I hate to start the show like this, but we got to talk about Little Richard. Not that Little Richard. I'm talking about Anthony Weiner. The Wiener Man, the hot dog man. We got to talk about him. This is the story that will not go away. And why won't it go away? Partly because of Anthony Weiner himself. I don't know if he wants this to continue in the media. I don't know what his game plan is. But this man has obviously lied. Now, you could say, I don't care. And honestly, I don't care if he sent a photo of himself to this chick or that chick or whatever. That's between him and his wife. But what I do care about is, if his account was hacked, we should have an investigation. The federal government should be investigating this. I mean, this is serious. Here's a United States congressman, and he is alleging that possibly his account was hacked. We can't have that of our government officials. We should have regulations on our congressmen and senators when it comes to Twittering and Facebook. Isn't that that's what they would do to us? Is it not? We, citizen, we have to regulate, because we can't have people hacking into other people's accounts and showing their wieners. We just can't have it, so we need regulation. And that's what they would do. So where is the outcry in Congress for regulating Weiner's account? Little Richard. And if you don't understand why I'm calling him Little Richard, think about it. What's another word for Richard? That's right. I don't have to say it. You know what it is. So Little Richard, because he is the other word. He really, truly is. What I love about this story is it shows you exactly what these people are. They are elites. They are elitist. They believe that they are above the law and that they're better than you. Now, in this case, has he broken any laws? I don't know. Unless he lied to a federal prosecutor or a federal agent, I guess he hasn't. But the fact of the matter is, if this was a conservative, if this was a Republican, they would be on television making fun of him and they talking about how this is completely inappropriate. There would be hearings. But because it's Little Richard, because it's the Wiener Man, well, it's perfectly fine. This guy is such a weasel. You know, he called the police on a local news channel from his own constituency. Yeah, listen to this story. Listen to this. This is from Channel News somewhere in New York, in his own district. Listen to this.
Good afternoon, Maurice. Well, I came all the way to Washington, but Anthony Weiner wouldn't talk to me, and his jittery, worn-out staff, believe it or not, they called the cops on me. I'm Marcia Kramer from CBS in New York City, and I was wondering if I could see the congressman. Those few words caused a hullabaloo in Congressman Anthony Weiner's office today. Doors slammed, people pretended I wasn't there. Finally, brave Secretary David Arnold arrived. And all I really want to know is what he wants to say to his constituents, who are the people back home who have to vote for him.
I don't know how you can say that he hasn't said anything to his constituents. He spoke for 9 hours yesterday.
But not to anybody in New York. You know, this was sort of a... I'm, in the bunker in the Capitol and wouldn't talk to anybody in New York. After I left Weiner's office, his staff called Capitol Police.
Let me see some IDs.
One cop told me that if I went into Weiner's office and didn't leave, I could be arrested.
If you go into any member's office here, if you're asked to leave and you refuse to leave, you can be placed under arrest.
Okay, but I wouldn't refuse to leave.
I didn't say you were.
I was never asked to leave, but the fact that cops were called is a clear sign that the stress in Weiner's office over the situation is...
I'm sorry. I got a question. And call me crazy, but I mean, I understand that this woman is a reporter. And I understand that Anthony Weiner might not want this reporter asking questions or disturbing his office. But what I can't for the life of me understand is, if she lives in Anthony Weiner's district, isn't the Capitol, our building, the Citizens Building? It's not Anthony Weiner's building, it's the Citizens Building. We paid for it. How can you trespass on something that you paid for? I'm just thinking out loud. She's not causing a disturbance. She's not breaking down doors. She's not showing her wiener. What is she doing wrong? If they ask you to leave and you don't leave, we can have you arrested. Why? What is she doing wrong? How is she trespassing? She has just as much right to be there as he does. I don't know. Call me crazy, but that's just the way I think. I know. I'm completely out of bounds for thinking that way. Anthony Weiner and the elitists in Washington, D.C., they can do whatever they want, and they can ask people to leave when they don't want to ask uncomfortable questions. Anyway, here's the rest of it.
Taking its toll. In fact, Majority Leader Eric Cantor became the first member of House leadership to go after Weiner.
The advice would be to come clean and clear it up. I mean, again, perhaps he's trying, but I know there's a lot of explaining going on without a lot of clarity.
Weiner himself had little to say.
Today I'm going to have to get back to work doing the job that I'm paid to do.
Experts say that ongoing questions could hurt his political ambitions.
This is something that is not going to go away.
I gotta get back to work. I gotta get back to my Twitter account. Make sure I erase any photos. Did you see Anthony Weiner? This is I think this is actually after this woman. They threatened this woman to arrest her. Did you see Anthony Weiner lose his cool with the media again? Again? Listen to this. The Weiner man. Little Richard, here he is.
A prank that I've now been talking about for a couple of days. I'm not going to allow it to decide what I talk about for the next week or the next 2 weeks. And so I'm not going to be giving anything more.
You're not talking about it now. People are asking you one simple question, Anthony. Did you send the photo? Did you send it? Instead of lying and saying you didn't send... Listen. We could solve this quick. We could solve this like the federal government solves everything lately. Let's get our big sis Janet Napolitano. Let's get her, and let's get Homeland Security and the TSA to go into Anthony Weiner's pants and figure out if that was Anthony Weiner's little wiener or not. Isn't that's what they do with us? What, is he above TSA screening now? I mean, the TSA, they can go and they can fill up your children, they can fill up your wives and your husbands, but why can't we solve this whole thing by letting the TSA go and inspect Anthony Weiner's little wiener? I mean, we could solve it. By the way, I have undeniable proof that it's Anthony Weiner's wiener. I do. I have proof. If you look in the photo, and you look really close, it's hard left. So it's no doubt it's Anthony Weiner. I'm sorry. I'm not above jokes. I'm just not. Anyway, here's Anthony Weiner. This is a long soundbite, but you got to hear it. Listen to
More about that today. I think I've been pretty responsive to in the past.
But with respect, you're here, which we appreciate, but you're not answering the questions. Can you just say why you haven't asked law enforcement to investigate what you are alleging is a
You know, Dana, if I was giving a speech to 45,000 people, and someone in the back of the room threw a pie or yelled out an insult, Would I spend the next 2 hours responding to that? No, I would get back.
This is not that situation.
I would get back.
This is not that situation.
I would get back. Well, why don't you do? What you want to do the briefing?
You
want to do the briefing, sir?
From your Twitter account,
sir.
a lewd photograph was sent to a college student.
Sir,
answer the question. Was it from you or
sir.
not?
Permit me. Do you guys want me to finish my answer?
Yes. This answer. Did you send it or not?
If I were giving a speech to 45,000.
Oh, little Richard, come on, man. Just answer the question. This thing would be over by now. Just answer the question. I don't need to know about somebody throwing pies, some hypothetical. Just answer the freaking question. Did you send it or not? Is it you? Which way I already know because I've already told you why I know it's him. But anyway.
People. And someone in the back threw a pie or yelled out an insult.
This isn't a
I would
pie.
not spend the next 2 hours of my speech responding to that pie or that insult. I would return to the things that I want to talk about, to the audience that I wanted to talk to.
All you have to do is say no.
And that is what I intend to do this week.
All you have to do is say no to the question.
Let me try this question. The woman who allegedly got this tweet, or it was directed to, a 21-year-old college student in Seattle, she released a statement to the New York Daily News yesterday saying that you follow her on Twitter. Is that true? Did you follow her on Twitter? And if so, how did you find her? What was the reason?
You know, I have, I think, said this a couple of ways, and I'll say it again. I am not going to permit myself to be distracted.
Oh, God. This, folks, is what I like talking about. I wish we didn't have such serious issues going on in our economy and with our government completely out of freaking control. I wish I could do my entire show on stuff like this, because this is entertaining. This man who has called conservatives every name in the book, he plays what I call spaghetti politics. He throws it on the wall, and let's just see what sticks. Now you got him dead to rights. You got him hanging on the wall, dead to rights. He's caught red-handed. He doesn't know what to do. Little Richard's confused. He is. He's confused. He just doesn't know how to react to this. But this is not... He hasn't lost it yet. It's coming.
By this issue any longer.
All you have to do is say no to that question.
You are free. You're very good at...
You're not following her on Twitter. Say no to the question.
Why don't you let me do the answers and you do the questions?
As soon as you answer the question asked you, sir, we will.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
You follow an awful lot of young women on Twitter. Is there a reason that you have so many ladies that you're following on?
By the way, the porn star that he's following... Not that I care. He follows a porn star. That's his thing. I honestly, I could care less if he follows a porn star or he follows many porn stars. That's his business. But she apparently has come out and she's defending the Weiner man. She's defending him and says that the reason I follow and I like Anthony Weiner is because he goes and fights for America. He fights for what's important. Oh, jeez. Like universal health care. That's important. Bankrupting the system is important to this man. He's fighting the fight.
In related news, I have in the famous hashtag #ScrappyChasingCrazy, I passed Michelle Bachmann today, the number of Twitter followers. I will give you that additional fact.
Oh, that's great.
Is that a result of this?
Unfortunately, it probably is.
Congressman, you understand what's going on here, the frustration. We appreciate you coming out and you're talking to us. Sure. You're smiling, you're cooperating, and
thank you, little Richard. Thank you.
But you're not answering the question. So can you answer
this is
even
now,
the most basic question?
This is now day 3. You have statements that my office has put out.
But they don't answer the question.
There are statements that my office has put out. And there are going to be people who are going to want, look, this is the tactic. The guy in the back of the room who's throwing the pie or yelling out the insult wants that to be the conversation.
But you are the one who said
let me.
Oh, God, I love this. If you're not entertained, I'm sorry.
Dana,
this is
let me,
me, and that's all that matters.
Follow some rules here, and one of them is going to be U.S. questions. I do the answers. That seem reasonable?
I'd love to get an answer.
That would be reasonable, right? You do the question.
Oh, here it comes.
You do the questions. I do the answers, and this jackass interrupts me. How about that?
He's going to call a reporter a jackass now. The Weiner man don't agree with tough questions. This is what I talk about constantly on this show. The elitism up in Washington, D.C. is at an all-time high. And little Wieners like this guy, little Richard here, they can't stand to be... How dare you question him? How dare you question him? What is wrong with you? Don't you know I am a United States congressman? You don't question me. I question the citizens. You don't question me. I'm the authority. That's how these people act. That's how they think. That's how they do things. I'm kidding about TSA going and checking out his wiener and his crotch. But think about it. How far away are we from sending people to other people, sending the TSA to somebody's house to check out their crotch? How far? They're sending TSA agents to our schools. I told you about the story in New Mexico, I believe, a week ago. They sent a TSA agent to the school to oversee pat-downs at a prom. And the state of New Mexico says perfectly fine to do that. That's utter insanity. So I don't think it's a far cry to be asking for the TSA to go and check out Anthony Weiner's crotch. Is this... If the wiener don't fit, you must acquit. That's all I'm saying. I know. I'm childish. I don't care. The Weiner man. But see, this is not just... This whole thing.
Let me ask you this, because I got to go, but I want to get you... You
Sure.
mentioned the estate tax twice, so I do want to ask you about it.
Sorry. This whole thing with Anthony Weiner and how he you will respect his authority. This whole thing with Anthony Weiner and how dare you question him. And how he tries to weasel out of the question. This isn't the first time this has happened. Let me point you to 2008. 2010. December of 2010, he's on Megyn Kelly. Oh, Megyn Kelly. Anyway, Megyn Kelly with Fox News. On her show, and they're talking about the estate tax. Listen to Little Richard and what he has to say. Look, I mean, forget what he has to say. Look how he treats Megyn Kelly. Listen.
The argument from the other side is that it's a morally corrupt tax. That, you know, if I don't have a $5 million estate, I'd like to someday, but if I work all my life and I pay my taxes on my income and then I die and I want to pass on what would be great if it were a $5 million estate to my kids, why should I pay the government again? Why should there be a 35 or 45 or 55% tax on that again?
You aren't paying anything in that case because you'll be dead.
The estate is, and that's less for my children.
Well, the only question is, look.
No, you're not answering my question. How is that fair?
Megyn, you're going to have to let me answer the question. We're going to have a conversation that gets us anywhere.
Go ahead.
The only question here is not whether or not there should be a tax on that. The question is where the limit should be and how much should be withheld.
No, I'll ask the question and you're not answering. Just tell me how is it fair?
Ready?
I am.
So the question is, at what level should it be taxed? Some people around here think it should be higher. Some people should be at lower. This deal would basically...
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I cannot allow Forget for a second how he's being condescending and won't answer the question with Megyn Kelly. Forget that for just a second. And I'm sorry if the volume levels are bouncing all over the place. I'm having a really hard time with the board this evening. But forget for a second how condescending he is and how he's trying to tell Megyn Kelly how to conduct an interview. I know I'm going off a little topic here, but this is the mindset of Washington, D.C. I don't care that Anthony Weiner wants to show 20-year-old females his Little Richard, if you will. I don't care. I don't care. It's the mentality of this man that I despise. The elitism. How he thinks, how dare you question him? Don't question him. Do as I say, don't do as I do. Now get on to the top of their talk. They're talking about the estate tax. Megyn Kelly didn't ask him about how much it should be. How is it fair? You've been taxed when you were alive. You were taxed. The amount of money you made over your lifetime was already taxed. How is it fair the federal government gets to tax you when you're dead? When you're dead. Because it goes to your relatives? You've already paid taxes on it. But it doesn't matter. This is this is liberalism. Liberalism, progressive, let's just call it what it is. It's socialism. You want to take from the person that earned it and give it to someone else who didn't. All because you can, because you're the big G mighty government god. You take from one to give to others. It's not fair. Taxing someone twice? Anyway, I'll let the Weiner man to get back to my original point.
Say that for people who inherit money, that money gets taxed at a lower rate than if they worked 70 hours to earn it. That's just not fair. But more importantly than that is how much it costs. I'd like there to be no taxes on anyone at any level. The question is how much this adds to our debt.
That's a lie.
It adds an enormous amount. No one could be in favor of that and then come on your show and say, oh, I'm so concerned about the debt because it's adding, I think it's $72 or $75 billion to aid 32,000 people.
It doesn't strike you, but what's wrong with those 32,000? I mean, they earned that money. If they want to pass it on to their children.
No, they did not.
No,
they did not.
They
They'll be
didn't earn
dead.
the money? Is it not
no,
double
they'll be
taxation?
Dead. Those people will be dead. The only people we're talking about are people...
No, they did not. Those people are dead. Those people are dead. They didn't earn the money. They're dead. They can't have earned the money. They're dead.
Who inherit money. Yes, some people get very lucky at the casino. Should we tax that at a lower rate than if you worked hard and earned it?
Well, it's different from double taxation where one person earns it and pays taxes on it, and then their offspring has to pay taxes again.
Now you're not answering my question.
Yes, I am saying that I see a distinction between your analogy and the question I raised. In any event, I appreciate your thoughts on it.
It's unearned.
No, she's not answering you because you're an idiot. It's not even close. It's not even close to the same thing. It's just like when Anthony Weiner's asked the question about, is it your wiener in this pit? Did you send this wiener to this young lady? He's talking about some old man or woman throwing a pie from the back of the room. What does that got to do with is that your crotch or not? But may I appoint you to one other thing?
It started in part with complaints about Ginny Thomas, who is the wife of Clarence Thomas.
Stop! Sorry about that. Let me point you to another thing. This was a debate over shall Clarence Thomas excuse himself because Anthony Weiner thinks he should excuse himself. Because Clarence Thomas's wife makes money from some right-wing groups. And so because she makes money, makes a living, dealing with these right-wing organizations, he thinks that that's grounds for Clarence Thomas to step down, to excuse himself from the healthcare debate. But that's not why I'm playing this. The reason I'm playing this is because, again, here's a prime example of Anthony Weiner in a predicament. He's gotten his, how can I say, his buttocks handed to him during this conversation with Megyn Kelly. And he starts being condescending and then again tries to tell her how to conduct an interview. Listen to this.
The Supreme Court has a very high obligation, as all courts do, to make sure there's not appearance that the case is pre-baked. If it's a lower court and you believe that it is, you can take it on appeal. Where can you take it with the Supreme Court? Which is why the test for recusal is so high, which is why Justice Kagan has recused herself in full 50.
Stop. Very important. Megyn Kelly, by the way, has, I believe she worked for Clarence Thomas, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, she is an attorney, by the way. Just wanted to point that out.
% of the cases this year, so that there's no perception.
Well, she was the Solicitor General of the United States. That's a different story. She actually had an active role as counsel, which is also in the U.S. Code.
In many cases,
listen.
In many cases, you didn't.
Listen, just let me get to the next point.
Without letting. No. First, let me respond to your point.
I'm responding to your point, sir. You mentioned Justice Kagan. I'm just pointing out for the viewers so they know that she was the Solicitor General and therefore she had to. But let me tell you, sir. Let me tell you. But you're throwing everything at me, so I can't offer any response.
No, but I get an opportunity. You're doing an interview, so let me respond to your question.
Why don't you just do a soliloquy? Okay, you just take it away.
Okay, this is the way interviews work. You ask a question, then I get to answer.
Oh, thank you.
When you put your commentaries at the end, they better be factually correct, and in this case, they aren't.
Was she or was she not the Solicitor General of the United States?
That was not the part that I'm taking exception to, if you let me finish my thought.
I remember covering her confirmation hearing to the U.S. Supreme Court.
I'm not really sure what goes on in Fox's actually coverage, but we'll get that to another conversation.
Okay.
You said she had to recuse herself. She did not. She chose to in many cases where she had very little role in, simply because of the appearance was there. That's what Justice Thomas should do.
If you were a lawyer in the case,
I responded to something that you said.
If you were a lawyer in the case, you have to recuse yourself, even if you signed a brief.
She did not.
Even if you signed a brief.
She did not recuse herself only in those circumstances. That's the point.
But my point to you is Justice Thomas wasn't a lawyer in any of these cases.
That's
All
true.
he has is a wife who is a lobbyist. And what he said on that tape is that his wife. Can I have my turn?
Sure.
Okay. Because what he said in that tape is. I thought I could have my turn. I thought I was getting my turn now. Where's my turn? What he said in that tape is that he believes in liberty and his wife believes in liberty. And what's happened in the past is other justices have come out and made speeches. I mean, we've had Justice Ginsburg speak to very left-leaning groups.
You got the gist. I'm beginning to wonder if this... Notice the people he's most condescending to are women. I wonder if he's got a problem with women. I'm just wondering. No one's pointed this out. I think he's got a problem with women. I don't know. I'm beginning to think that he has a problem with intelligent women doing their job. He must be intimidated by it. I mean, look, he's like 5'2". He's like an Oompa Loompa walking around out there. I mean, he's a shorty. And not to mention, I think he weighs maybe 102 pounds wet. And so I think he's intimidated by these women. Not to mention, he's a mental midget. And so I think he's intimidated by smart, intelligent women. And so the way to get back at him, maybe he treats women like crap because that's his way of getting back at them. But I got to take a break in a bit. But before I go to the break, this might be the most entertaining interview yet. It's only like 10 seconds. This I love. If anything, at least Anthony Weiner can sometimes have a sense of humor. Listen to this. This is funny. This is really good.
We are going to ask him about some government work as well, is the congressman. We thank him for joining us tonight. Good evening, Congressman Weiner.
It's my pleasure, Errol. Thank you.
For those who didn't hear some of this, I know it's been swirling around you, but the long and short of it is over the weekend you discovered that a photo of a man's crotch was sent to one of your Twitter followers. When did you first hear about this?
You didn't just introduce that by saying the long and the short of it, did you, Errol?
Look,
I found out about it almost instantly. I was tweeting at the...
At least the man, Little Richard's got a sense of humor. At least. Anyway, I gotta take a break. That was a long segment. I apologize. But I gotta take a break. When we get back, I want to talk about the presidential the presidential election coming up. The Republican nominee, the elites in Washington D.C. are out of control, and as I've told you before, they're on both sides. Whether it's a R or D by their name, they're both. It doesn't matter. They're both elites, and it's all stems from Washington D.C. And when we get back, I'm going to talk about that. And Herman Cain and Sarah Palin and the Michelle Bachmans. And I'm going to tell you why these Washington elites hate them.